This week on RSBANDB Update, the RuneScape Advent Calendar is here for another year, and we explore what could become with the RuneScape Dungeons and Dragons world and our favorite classes. We also talk about the flow state relic and the current state of archaeology training. This is RSBANDB Update, episode 806, recorded Thursday, December 3rd, 2020. RuneScape Dungeons and Dragons. Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us for another episode of RSBANDB Update. Tanis and myself are here, and as predicted, this is one of 2 weeks that's going to be pretty quiet before the end of the year. It's interesting how we predicted that in mid-November after the last Lord Diggers episode. I said, looking at this schedule, we probably only have 2 weeks of general quiet left over before the year ends.
Yeah, Shane already had the schedule all laid out and was ready to go.
Yeah, we were ready.
I think we're all ready to go. We're ready to get this year over with.
I'm not.
You're not? I am.
I'm not.
Let's go 2021.
Yeah, well, there's lots of questions and whatnot about what 2021 will entail, but of course that's probably best left for other podcasts. But if you're joining us for the first time, you can find our full show notes at update.rsbnb.com. And, of course, if you want to join us in-game, we're at Friends Chat, BitsBytes. And if you want to support the podcast, you can do that on Patreon at patreon.com/rsbnb. I just mailed out some Christmas cards yesterday.
Check your mailboxes.
Yeah, keep in mind these are coming from Canada, so give it a bit of time. Anybody who supplied their shipping information via the Patreon website before the end of November will be receiving a Christmas card from us. We sent those out, so hopefully you guys enjoy that nice little surprise. I think the cards turned out very well, so look forward to that. And, it was a pretty big success.
How long does it take to get mail by canoe these days, Shane?
The general guideline is that you can get something within the same city next day or day after, and anywhere within Canada if it's just regular letter mail within the week.
Well, look at you guys.
Yeah. So with that in mind, though, there's only one that came from Canada. Or one that is going to Canada. The rest are international destinations for me. So
I see.
That was a fun endeavor to see. And, hey, everybody gets mail from Canada. But, of course, this week we're preparing for the Raksha release that is coming on Monday. And, this boss is one that is going to, they say, fall between the difficulty of Araxor and Telos. And as we discussed with David, that has a myriad of meanings because, if you say something is as difficult as Telos, is that what, 100% enrage, 4,000 enrage, what, right?
And that's something that I never realized. I didn't really know that about Telos before we talked with David. Because when I watch videos, you pull up a YouTube video, hey, how do you beat Telos? And I'm looking there. And it seemed like no one ever made a mistake. No one ever died. And it turns out...
Right. And that's what...
that's not necessarily the case.
Yeah, and that's what we learned this week. We did our monthly bit as well this week about PVM economy and death costs, which, you can get on the Patreon feed along with this episode. But to just give a bit of preview on that, you really only die at Telos as if you're learning a new difficulty level, or you're just learning the boss for the first time. But after that, it's fairly predictable. So
yeah,
we had a good discussion on that, but I'll fill you guys in more on that later. Right now, let's look at the RuneScape Advent Calendar, which is, of course, this week's update. This is returning for, I think it's been around for 5 years now, give or take. The Advent Calendar.
That sounds right.
It's just, your daily free shot at getting some
50
treasure.
mil.
Well, no, my 50 mil didn't come from the Advent Calendar. It came from the Treasure Hunter promotion.
Oh, well, see, Shane, if you weren't involved in the war on Christmas, you might have gotten...
I'm not involved on the war on Christmas.
Oh, okay.
No, absolutely not. If somebody wants somebody to say something other than Merry Christmas, I'm going to be the first one standing in front of them saying, no, we're saying Merry Christmas.
Someone has to get you going.
All right. But, your daily chance all the way through Christmas to get a couple of treasure hunter-esque items and a bonus treasure hunter key. And if you haven't grabbed it from previously, you can spam click the backwards button on December 1st to go to the 0th of December and get another free treasure hunter key. But you can only do that if you haven't done it in years past. So just a fun little reminder there that you can go to the 0th of December for that. Fun little programming humor on that. Yesterday's was 200 magic note paper. Today's is 2 medium hydro lamps. So I don't know. There's really nothing to report home about there. I'm just glad that this advent calendar is giving things and not giving you the opportunity to buy things.
And we're not converting things so that they have bugs and
converting
YouTube
things?
videos and I'm just saying.
Oh, oddments, right. Fair enough.
So this worked out. Yeah, the advent calendar it's cute, right? I mean, I've ran into more advent calendars this year than I have ever in my whole life.
Oh, really? This is the first one for me.
My daughter has a Barbie advent calendar. Both dogs have an advent calendar. The cat has an advent calendar now. Yes, my wife and I have an advent calendar. Ours is like cheese or something. It's crazy. They're everywhere, man.
Fascinating.
Everyone is hungry for Christmas this year.
Yeah. You open 15 in a row, you get the Sir Collington Embers plushie. Nobody knows what this looks like yet because we don't have it yet. But, unique little reward that you can get along the way from opening it. So, and they also say there's a different treasure hunter promotion each day of the advent calendar.
Well, isn't that special?
Yeah. Would it be something if Treasure Hunter was on the way out with this?
It would be, and I hope we get there.
Yeah.
I hope we get there.
Also this week, before we move on to the patch notes, the Steam Awards voting, you can vote for RuneScape, and they want you to vote for RuneScape in the sit back and relax category, but they say you can nominate the game for whichever category you feel best. Was that?
Dude, I totally was reading each one of those. I'm like, which one does... I'm like, I don't know if it really fits. I saw that. I was like, oh, that's RuneScape right there. I didn't even read that part.
Sit back and relax.
I'm like, yeah, this is the one. I nominated for that.
Yeah, I don't think you can nominate it anymore.
It had
it was very short.
It had all of the choices. It had Game of the Year, all of that stuff.
Yeah, but there was a very short window for you to be able to do that, honestly.
It's 2 days ago, I think, when I was doing my
Which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
All right. Too bad. I voted for it. I hope all our listeners voted for it, too. And finally, Premier Club members will receive, as part of the new monthly drop mechanism, a Yak Track task skip, a large mystery box, and 1,000 oddments.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, good value.
Dude, those oddments will add up, especially when
12,000.
You get a sale,
Yeah.
Oh.
And, I think this is what they're referring to, is that each month you get 1,000 oddments. So, mentioning it here really doesn't, add much onto it. You were going to get those regardless. But.
Right.
Good
Just
value.
A reminder, though.
Yeah.
It is a good value.
All right. So patch notes wise this week, a number of changes to the mobile client. The sheet painting section of Morning's End Part 1 has been visually improved to increase playability.
No one remembers anything about Morning's End other than that stupid puzzle.
That was Part 2.
They didn't have that in 1?
No, that was Part 2.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's all you ever remember when you hear Morning's End. You're like, no.
Yeah.
The horror.
Mobile users now have an option to turn on one-tap gameplay. This can be found in the gameplay settings menu under game interaction. And this is a legacy PC option going back to RuneScape 2 for people playing on Mac OS who only had one mouse button at the time. And whenever you click, it will just open up the right-click menu regardless. And I'm wondering if this is a better way to almost do it on mobile.
But well, see, I was wondering why, because that seems so much harder than how you do it now. Like,
I mean, I guess if you, I guess if you just didn't want to do the long press, right?
I mean, yeah, but I mean, I don't right click a lot in mobile anyway. Like, because I don't know. I don't really love it. Once I do that, then I have to engage a magnifier, and then it's just other stuff. So, yeah, I don't see the purpose of it, but that doesn't mean it's not important or someone doesn't use it.
Yeah. I'm thinking that this is going to be useful for smaller screens.
That's an idea.
Because the idea that I see is that, you don't necessarily want to be, pressing and holding on certain things. And sometimes you just want to, you might just prefer to just tap rather than press and hold. And, I mean, there's nothing wrong with the press and hold metaphor of a right click. It's just, I think for something, it's just more intuitive to just tap once and then tap right next to it, right?
Right, but you're stuck that way. Like, it slows you down so much.
Yeah, I mean,
You're
you
not
wouldn't
used
want
to
to
playing the game like that.
You wouldn't want to do PVM if you were doing that. I don't think.
No, I'm not even sure it would be easy to move around the world that much like that. I mean, I don't know.
Well, the way it works is it only does it when you're clicking on something with a context menu. If you're just walking somewhere and there's got no options on it, you will still just, single click it.
Well, it's good anyway, but
yeah. But anyways, let's continue on with the patch notes. You can now see Hope Spear without having the Ring of Visibility equipped or held in the backpack, which is the Ring of Visibility is the ring that allows you to see things after. Gosh, did we get that on Desert Treasure and then it transforms into Sliske's Gift?
No, I thought it was wasn't it Jenika's ring? Or
no.
Did we get it with that quest where we have to fight that summoning thing?
No.
No?
But Hope Spear is from the Land of the Goblins quest.
Huh.
And the Ring of Visibility does, in fact, come from the quest of Desert Treasure.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, a long time ago. Turns into Sliske's Gift. The yellow stripes on the Muspa, imprisoned in the block of ice during the tail of the Muspa, will now appear correctly. The UI will no longer become unavailable when using the enchanted lamb egg and attempting to teleport. The shard of the needle is now displayed correctly on the quest complete screen for the needle skips. If only we knew what that was going to ultimately wind up in at the end of the day on that.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Next, I've got a bit of a break here. Double XP wise, you will now consume feathers as normal while luring or baiting near Barbarian Village during double XP events. And a bug has been fixed where players could activate the Desert Pantheon aura when the double XP timer was paused. That doesn't sound very good. And, Desert Pantheon is one that I wish I actually had.
So, like, you're going to run your Desert Pantheon, but you don't want double XP engaged? Like, I don't get that.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, I'm glad it's good you make things work the way they're supposed to, but
yeah. Right. That one is now obtainable from Shifting Tombs.
Yes.
Moving on. Other improvements. The voiceover for Primrose's note to Gale and the needle skips now matches the text. And this is actually a good thing that has been done, because I remember we were working on the behind the scenes or catch up on the needle, sorry, not the needle skips video, Desperate Times. And one of the things we were looking at was actually this various thing, how there was a disconnect on there. And it's good to see that the voiceover now actually matches what the text has said, because we weren't exactly sure which one was the accurate one on that. So I'm glad that's been rectified.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, the Super Guthix Rest and Brew Flask now have a 30-second cooldown down from 35. And people are probably wondering, what? How does a potion have a cooldown on it? Well, this is actually something that is used in some applications of PVM, and I didn't know so until David told us. I think this was on the last special that he was on. The Guthix, Super Guthix Rest is, of course, made with the Guthix wine and a Guthix Rest potion, but when you drink this, it now provides 30 seconds of poison immunity, heals 650 life points, and can boost your max life points by 650 and give 15% adrenaline. So normally, you might spam brews to heal, but this is another option out there as well.
Yeah, I forget what he was telling us.
He was telling us about this from the adrenaline boost, I think it was.
Yeah. That's right.
Because, 650 life points is kind of inconsequential, but at the same time, the 15% adrenaline is good, and the poison immunity is good.
Yeah, and that's what I was like, who poisons you still? I was trying to remember if you...
Yeah, it's one of the bosses. I don't remember which one. The Emerald Aura stack timer can now be Aurora stack timer can now be refreshed after recasting the spell. And it's good that there's all these links in the notes here, because I don't remember what some of these actual spells are. So this is actually helping us here, because normally we'd be looking these up when we're doing the show on these.
Yep.
Returning players will no longer log in to find themselves trapped inside a cliff face north of Rimington, and will instead be placed somewhere safe.
No!
Amazing.
Gosh, I remember a glitch like that back at the waterfall when I first started out playing. It didn't last very long, but
no.
The same thing. You'd log in, and it was somewhere where you did the waterfall quest. It was one of those cliff areas.
Do you remember how that was such a big issue before home teleports were added?
Mm-hmm.
That was funny. Corrected the capitalization of Anachrony in the description for the bean there, done that, got the postcard, and that's, of course, for completing the Dynalog.
Oh.
Using a special attack from the action bar without a weapon equipped will no longer cause players to disconnect.
Oh. Well. Just make sure you're packing heat at all times.
Yeah. Yeah.
You never know.
Attempting to view more information about a clan while interacting with the clan flag will no longer force a logout. And fixed a bug where the kitty litter achievement erroneously required the rat catchers minigame to be completed.
Oh,
whoops.
Ouch. Yep.
That's gone.
Mm-hmm. I have trouble with that one.
Yeah, it really never was fun.
No, the idea is fun, but it never really worked out.
Pickpocketing a volunteer will now count towards daily pickpocketing challenges. Good to know. Fixed pathing for familiars. I don't particularly know what was wrong, but I haven't noticed anything different.
Different? No, they're I'm trying to think of other words I can say for how they act. I don't know. They're not very good at following you, it seems like. They get stuck on stuff all the time.
And, part of it, I think, is for the is the override that you're using. Because I know when I run with the Brains farming pet override, it's a little bit more bouncy, and it bounces back and forth more than it would if, you were just using the standard water fan, for example. So, I don't know what's up with that. Certain unreachable... Yeah. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think we just got used to it. Just get used to hitting the call pet button when you get where you're going, right?
Yeah. Certain unreachable spots near the elf camp are now reachable, all right? And it's been made more clear, I would say, that you do not need to downgrade your dwarf multi-cannon to acquire either the royal dwarf multi-cannon or the restocking cannon upgrade. And they say, to clarify, you need a gold dwarf multi-cannon to upgrade to a royal version, and you need a royal dwarf multi-cannon to get the restocking cannon upgrade. I guess people still use cannons in this day and age, eh?
They do. I mean, and cannons are fun and everything. The restocking cannon is that's beautiful, but it's because cannonballs are so expensive. It doesn't.
That's how I made my first mill.
Very worth it. Was it?
Smithing cannonballs.
Yeah, for sure.
So, I wonder what Slayer tasks they're good for.
Well, I mean,
Dagonoths,
they're good for
right?
a lot. Oh, well, yeah, I mean, Dagonoths. But, I mean, they're good for Erits if you got the setup and you're ready to go.
And as long as you watch the special, you don't get beat to death.
Yeah, you shouldn't get... Yeah, you got to watch it. You don't want that to happen.
Yeah. Alrighty, that's it for the patch notes. I think that was a good amount of patch notes, despite the advent calendar, which is good.
Yeah, can't be a blowout every.
Yeah, no, I can't, and I still very good patch notes, and everybody's getting ready for Raksha next week. Yeah. Spiritweed, incense sticks.
Who would have? Who knew? I didn't know.
I knew that one.
See, I didn't know that.
That was one of my favorite go-to moneymakers before Archaeology came out, was to do the entire process for Spiritweed incense sticks.
Well, I really don't want to say this, but you might be a little more advanced in PVM than I am.
No, I didn't actually use the sticks. I sold them for money.
Oh, okay. Oh, you knew it from
the business. Yeah. Yeah. All right.
But you did beat the Elite Dungeon boss at Siru, and I've still never gotten through that.
Well, I had a huge helping hand in doing that, so there's that. And I've actually
you weren't told to hide in the corner.
No, I wasn't.
Okay.
Right. I forgot about that when we were fighting Siru. David basically told you to go hide in the corner.
No, it was the first boss. I don't even know what its name it is, but yeah. That's when you know you're good.
Just go stand in the corner, Tanis.
Yeah. I'll cheer for everybody. Hey, hey.
All right. But in anticipation of the release of Raksha, the Colossus next week, Jagex ran a one-shot D&D campaign on their Twitch channel with a bunch of content creators, which they hired a professional dungeon master.
There is such a thing as a professional dungeon master?
I forget where they hired him from, but...
I freaking blew it. What did I do with my life? You could have just been a dungeon. You mean you just could have sat and told?
Yeah, I mean, I forget the name of the website, but there's literally a website you can go to. If you have 6 people, you can have the dungeon master build a story for you and bring this group on a one-shot. And they'll help you build your characters if you're not familiar with that and whatnot. And they'll also take you through the campaign as it goes.
Well, that is That is awesome.
Yeah, they had
I'd like to try that.
They had Zilandra, Evil Lucario, Scaredy Ginge, the RS guy, and Makeru on board for this one. I've done a one shot before myself. It was pretty fun when I did it. D&D is a bit hit or miss though when you're watching, and what I found on this, I watched about half of this, is that to really get something out of this, I had to put myself in the mind of what could potentially be around the next corner as if I was in on the session. Because just watching this really on its own, I found wasn't that entertaining. And this isn't because the people were bad or anything. It's just because when you have a group of new players, it's not necessarily fun to watch because they're still learning what all the limitations are of the game and whatnot with it. So it's a 3-hour live stream. So if you have the time and you like D&D, this is probably something you want to watch. But if you don't have the time for it or you're not entirely sure what D&D is, I'd probably give this one a skip.
Right on.
But they did actually tease some stuff that might be inside the well, that's not good. My mouse is lagging. Anyways, hopefully we don't need a mouse for the rest of this. But they did tease some things that might be a Raksha specific attack, like the Shadow Bomb attack. So, I mean, if you want to get a head up on what the boss might look like, this might be something. But then again, keep in mind that D&D is an entirely separate game from RuneScape, and what you're seeing on this live stream is effectively a RuneScape-themed D&D and not a RuneScape game as it works. So just keep that in mind. But overall, I think the Dungeon Master they had was great. You could really tell that he was professional and knew what he was doing.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. And, everybody else who was doing this were first-timers, so it's really no fault of their own that the stream kind of, in my view, is not that watchable. Because that's just the general nature of D&D, I think. So. Be interesting to try one of these if they could release a set like this that was maybe RuneScape themed.
Oh, that or RuneScape D&D. That would be cool.
Yeah,
that
would
be fun.
We
got all the stuff, right? I mean,
yeah, you just got to theme it around D&D 5th edition and the tool sets that's used and whatnot. So,
we could make some badass quests doing that, Shane.
Yeah, you could.
Just for fun.
Really could.
And we know a dungeon master.
Yeah, I don't know if he
won't like it, but we you can be persuasive.
I think he'd want to create his own story if he was going to do that.
Probably.
And I have to say the best vessel for that would probably be Clan Quest.
Yeah, you'd probably find a...
I'm going to drop some hints over the next year or so and see if we can get that online sometime in 2021.
That'd be fun.
All right. Back to RuneScape. Back to stories. And before we move on, we'll just have a bit of a talk about Sirion's article this month called RuneScape Crossing Timelines. And, you look at the storyline that we have in-game. It's a tangled web going from 5th Age to 6th Age with ambiguous quests thrown in here and there and everything else in between. And everybody experiences the game in a different direction from one another. And people who are the old-timers, as he says, experience the game and its world developing alongside their characters. But for newer players, there isn't a clear story, and the timeline may seem all jumbled. So with the narrative content for RuneScape, he breaks it down into 4 different boxes of how narrative can be done. It can be story-driven, which is focused on your character. Player-driven, focused on your character, and the idea behind this is Minecraft. Story-driven would be Zelda, as examples. Story-driven but world-focused would be Guild Wars 2 with a character-focused storyline where areas tell their own stories. It's a struggle between two factions, events happening on a loop, and so on and so forth. Then player-driven and world-focused, and the best example he sees in this category is Elite Dangerous, where there's some scripted events and story-driven components, but the players write their own narratives and effectively build the world. Now, when it comes to RuneScape, I think RuneScape falls into the latter two categories on this, and this is what the rest of this article is talking about. So I'll just say everybody should give this a read at informer.rsbnb.com, and he goes through the 6th age and prior to the 6th age, the 5th age, how they were both story-driven and character-focused, while changing all around to being the world-focused component. And it's just a really interesting way of looking at the RuneScape storyline, how you and I understand what RuneScape is, but somebody starting today might not necessarily know what the start of the 6th age was all about, and the best that they get to experience that with is a cutscene.
That's very true. I never really liked the Tarantino-sation of RuneScape.
Is that happening?
Just starting out. Doesn't it kind of seem that way? I mean,
well,
because you know how he's always up back and forth in timelines and this and that. And,
right, okay.
Yeah.
I know you weren't here last week, but they did say on the lore live stream that they wanted the next storyline after this Elder God storyline to not be as high stakes, and they wanted to get back to telling character stories.
I think would be a nice change. We definitely need that for a while. For a little while.
I mean, getting back to basics, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But anyway.
Well, and you can actually have a quest as content when it doesn't have to be a huge pillar of the story. You know what I mean? Like, if you look at a TV series or something, it might take them for 3 or 4, maybe 5 episodes to tell a single arc. But within there, you might have, like within a normal season, you also might have a one-off, in between here and there. You can't get the one-off because our quest stretched the whole season. You know what I mean? Like to carry the metaphor all the way out. Yeah,
exactly. And I mean, with the current situation of how the dev team works and, the medium-sized update focus, it definitely feels that, there's no room for anything else.
Yeah, exactly.
So, it's interesting to look at it through this perspective and see how it's all bridged together. And that's what this article mainly does. All right. So I'm going to thank some Patreon supporters because these guys have really come through for us so much over the past month. Wouldn't have been done without them. And, I am, of course, talking about the Christmas cards that I mentioned at the start of the show, which just went out. But I'm also talking about the monthly bit that we just recorded this week with David. That was about PVM economics and death costs. Basically, basically I went in here and I said to him, let's talk about the PVM economics and death costs, because the prevailing thought amongst those who do not PVM is that PVM's an instant moneymaker, right?
Yeah. Well,
it is if you want it to be, but if you're consistently pushing yourself to get better, it's not. And that's the discussion that we had, and we brought that down and put it in terms that somebody who has just learned the Queen Black Dragon would understand. And that was the whole goal of that. So if this sounds interesting to you, check that out on Patreon at patreon.com/RSBNB. But I'm going on and on here when these people, these wonderful people here on this list, are the whole reason that this is possible. This month, I'd like to thank Alvaro L., Andrew C., Brock H., Cameron, Christian S., Cook Me Plox, Diana, Duramax, Guy Lafleur, Jade Gizmo, Jade W., Jason S., Jim M., Joe M., Keski, Kevin G., Kyle, Malinoric, Nora, Owen L, Rastafa, Ricky A, Ryan P, Samantha R, Steve D, Stubeve, The Naked Captain, The Lion, Tom V, Zachary K, and Zant. Thank you all of you for your support, and it truly means the world to us. We get to do so many things like that monthly bit, the Christmas cards that just went out. This weekend, Tanis and I will be doing our movie night, the November movie night. The theme was war movies. We only got a few votes on that, so I'm thinking war movies probably wasn't everyone's cup of tea. But Tanis and I are going to sit down and watch Fury. Good tank.
Yeah.
You've heard about it.
It's a
I've
good
seen
Brad Pitt movie. Like, I mean, I've heard this is one of Brad Pitt's really, really good ones.
Okay. Yeah.
I can't wait.
No. I have mixed feelings about it. But anyways, we'll save that for the weekend. We'll also have the Inside Update post coming out on Friday as well. And you can learn all about this at patreon.com/RSBANDB. And there you can support the podcast for as little as $1 a month. For $1, you get a special mention in our show notes, early access to them, and of course you help fund the cost for hosting and production of the podcast. For $3 a month, you get a special VIP rank and a mention on the podcast at the start of the month and access to high-quality stereo versions of the show. And for $5 a month, you'll receive a shout-out each and every week and gain exclusive access to the clips that we used to build the clip show at the end of the year, which is coming soon. And, you know, we often talk about where we're going to go after this. Well, you know, if we reach the $200 per month goal, we'll start producing a line of RSBNB Update merchandise, potentially including T-shirts, mugs, stickers, and who knows what else. That's if we get to 200. If we get to 500 ever, we'll undertake the Hot Ones ritual where we subject our taste buds to a range of spicy wings for your enjoyment.
Man, I've been watching new episodes of Hot Ones. I'm scared. I'm scared of that day if that ever comes.
I think I'll be fine.
Dude, I just watched The Undertaker do it, and, well, he did it with no problem, but still. I mean, he was The Undertaker, or he is The Undertaker, so, you know.
I'm still trying to rope an accomplice into this. I tried to rope Sirion into it last week, but he won't have any part in it.
We need Reed.
No, he doesn't do spicy either.
Well, neither do I. Like, but here we are. Nonetheless.
And just for clarification, when I have chips and salsa, my salsa has real, actual jalapenos in it.
Well, I mean, you know.
So jalapenos are no problem for me, so it's just going to be a question of where you go after that.
Well, that's like the beginning of the skill, dude. That's like probably the second sauce.
Okay.
And yeah, dude. It gets hot, dude. Hot.
I'm looking
We're
forward to
talking like
that.
habanero style, you know, ghost pepper, that kind of stuff.
I'm looking forward to this.
Okay, well, your butt won't, but that's okay.
All right. Well, if this is all interesting to you, patreon.com/RSBNB. Support us. And thank you so much, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Aye. All right. Whoa, there's still some mouse lag. That's a question. It's a question to answer after the podcast. But we do have questions this week from two people. First one from Guy Lafleur, one of our Patreon supporters who wants to know. I just got to 102 Archaeology and got the flow state relic. I'm trying to figure out whether to use it or not. And he says I just read Sirion's Informer article called A New Dimension of Updates, and he uses this relic as an example of the choices to the player and how we get to weigh the benefits of one method of training versus another. A while back, you talked about some data that you were collecting on various aspects of the archaeology skill and how much matic precision, sprite focus level, and whatnot affects the rate at which materials and artifacts were obtained. So the question is this: what exactly is the trade-off between 20% increase in precision and the extra materials from screening soil? And does the precision increase material gain rate, in effect offsetting the loss of soil and the materials gained from screening? Or does the increase in precision only affect the rate of gaining artifacts? In which case, one would either need to buy the difference or spend more time at caches. And you're entirely right on that. So I'm going to pull up the wiki page for this flow state relic so I know exactly, have the exact terminology on this one here. But when you activate this, your base precision of your Matic increases by 20%. So if you have a Matic with 80 precision, let's say, that's going to go up to 96 precision, which is a wonderful, wonderful increase. And when I combine this with the precision consumable and double XP weekend, the artifacts are coming in just like warp speed.
Yeah, but even without that, you can get fairly close to what the double XP weekend was just with these things.
Exactly.
And that's the best way. I think that's one of the best ways to kind of illustrate the difference.
Illustrate the choice with this.
Yeah, the choice. Yeah.
So the Matics have two values on them. They have the precision value and then the focus value. The precision value is used exclusively for determining how fast you excavate artifacts. The focus value is used exclusively for determining how fast you get materials. So using this relic does not increase the rate at which you get materials. So we need to get that out of the way. Now, as for actual numbers of how much the 20% increase in precision affects is compared rather to the extra increase in materials from gaining soil, I don't have numbers on that in particular at this point. Now, the way that I see this is that if you are aiming to, buy your materials and get Archaeology XP as fast as you can, you want to use this relic, I think. That's my determination for when you're using this. If you're aiming to Iron Man this out and you're going to be gathering your own materials and you use an auto screener or you screen your own soil for the extra materials, then you don't want to use this relic. And that's the simplest way I can say to make the decision of whether or not you want to use this, is that if you're buying materials, absolutely use this. If you're not, you probably don't want to use it.
Or if you can buy materials, but you have to have that as an option, because if not, I don't think, gathering materials from like caches or whatever, you're going to waste way more time. If you're using this item, but you're like, oh, I gotta go get materials. You don't want to do that. It's just not going to work. It doesn't equal out. You either have to buy the materials and use the relic, or don't use the relic and use an auto screener. Right.
And see, this is the thing. Personally, I enjoy Archaeology so much that I don't want it to end, and that's why I'm making the decision to gather my own materials going forward from 116 to the end. Because on double XP weekend I used this, and I bought materials, and the economic case for me is simple, that my herb runs each and every day that I do bring in enough money that I can buy my materials with no problem. So I could do that if I wanted
great. To. But where are you at? What dig site are you at? What location?
I'm at the Warforge 115 farming Red Rum 3.
See, that's awesome. And so I had accidentally locked myself into Orthan so deep that I can't use that relic right now.
What do you mean?
Well, the materials from Orthan are so expensive. It's just not a choice. It's not. I can't do that. And because I've got from double XP, I probably still have 200 damaged artifacts that need to be fixed. I just can't afford to fix them. So I'm up here still doing my thing.
But, that's not necessarily a bad thing. And I've actually contemplated going back to Orthan myself because potion recipes.
Yeah. Yeah, those are always nice.
So, I mean, and this is one of the best things about the archaeology skill is that there's so many different choices that you can make. I mean, you can use this relic and not have anything to do with soil. You can gather your soil and sell it. And I don't know what the numbers are, but I'd imagine that Orthan soil might actually be a moneymaker at this point. I haven't tested it.
You know, it's possible. I haven't even thought about keeping soil since I got the auto sifter.
Right.
You know, I mean, and I guess the big soil box, maybe. You know, I mean, I don't know. Maybe that would be viable.
Right.
I don't like to run back and forth a lot, but if you don't mind that, you might make some cash. I don't know.
Yeah, and I mean, there's also you could go sit at Caridad in the Praetorium for a chance at getting the tip.
Mm-hmm.
I'm personally wondering, and I'm just thinking of this as an alternate training method, which potion recipe is probably I'm betting it's either the Summoning Renewal or the Holy Agroverload recipe that's the most sought after.
Yeah, that would be.
I don't know. But
yeah, I don't know. Maybe for the PBM one, right? People trying to rush to be able to
Summoning
do that.
Renewal.
Yeah.
But when it comes down to it, getting back to the question, it entirely depends if you're able to purchase materials or not.
Mm-hmm. And that varies from dig site to dig site,
And person to person.
Yeah, because right now, I mean, I don't know, I can't really advise buying materials for Orthan at the moment.
I would say not for Orthan probably, but everywhere else after double XP ended, everything dropped by 15 to 20%.
Yeah. See, I just couldn't leave here, man. You know how you get onto a dig site and you're just so into that dig site for a while, it's like you don't want to go.
Yeah.
And especially with this one, because it's had all the spots that I've needed. Like, I could grind to the next spot, and I haven't had a dig site that was quite like that. So, I haven't had to go anywhere. I haven't wanted to leave. I've went to different, locations, but I hadn't had to go to other dig sites.
Right.
So.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, I'm not using the relic now. I only used it during double XP weekend. And that's because I'm gathering my own materials. But if you're buying materials, I'd say use the relic. If you're maximizing XP. But if you're also maximizing XP, then we need to have the conversation about the fact that if you are truly maximizing XP, you're using the relic, you're using the archaeology consumables as well.
Oh, yeah.
You're going full decked out. And personally, that's a little bit more money than I want to spend. But hey, I mean, it's an option.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
I remember how much Chronotes were going for in the first week or so.
Uh-huh. I mean, it's cheaper to do that now. I mean, it's...
yeah.
It's a lot cheaper.
And that's why archaeology is a pretty well-rounded and designed skill in terms of how fast it is.
Mm-hmm.
So, hopefully that answers the question. And I'm also glad that you asked about if precision affects material gain, because that's also something else that was talked about in the pre-release but really hasn't been touched on since. So just to recap that, precision affects only how fast you excavate the artifact, and focus affects how fast you excavate materials. So just keep that in mind. All right. Thank you, Gilafleur. Next one from Sirion. What D&D class do you like the most? And if you had to assign yourself a D&D class in real life, which would it be? Personally, if I had the time to get into it and play one, the D&D class I'd play would be the Bard.
Okay. Shane with the classic support, right?
Yeah.
I'm assuming it's support from what I know.
It's a support that's based on music.
Okay.
Yeah.
You don't really seem like a music man, Shane.
No, I'm not. But it's actually kind of fun to do, and I kind of pushed one together in the one-shot session that we did. And the reason I did that is because it was support-based primarily. It also had a chance to be kind of funny alongside of it. And
definitely lols.
Yes. And when it came down to it at the end of the day, I mean, it was just a fun little thing to imagine, talking an enemy to death, right? Or singing an enemy to death.
Now, if there was a class that was talking an enemy to death. Oh, that's funny.
That's precisely why I chose it. Music, talking, singing, an enemy to death.
Or
debuffing them, right?
Yeah. You'd be like the dude that has the big tuba on Monster World. Just running around with the fucking tuba. Can you, so, the one and only time someone kind of half talked to me is, I swear that you could do hybrid classes where it was two things. Is that still a...
You can pick one as a base and you can make it lean into others.
Okay.
But you are hard locked into that class.
Okay. So
there's a bit of overlap between the druid and the bard.
Oh, okay.
In terms of healing that they can do, right? But in terms of how they do it is different. The bard is music, whereas the druid is about nature and turning into animals.
See, and I was looking at, I think I would always play some kind of, magic class, sorcerer class, but...
Yeah, sorcerer or wizard or something like that.
Yeah, but, in some games, there was always a red wizard, in Final Fantasy, there was a red wizard who could do some attacks. He could, you'd have, think dagger hidden in up your sleeve, your robes or whatever. He wasn't completely helpless, that kind of thing.
That's kind of like what we talked about in the agility skill rework.
Yeah, actually.
Yeah. But if I had to pick one for real life, let's see, what is the exact phrasing here of the question? Assign a class to myself in real life.
Oh, in real life. Okay.
I'd say either paladin or wizard. The description I'm reading is that the paladin is a holy warrior bound to a sacred oath, and the wizard, a scholarly magic user capable of manipulating the structures of reality.
Yep, a little too many wizards. Yeah, I'm definitely. I think I would be there too.
Yeah.
I'm damn sure not a paladin.
No. I am someone who takes their oath seriously.
And I don't take them.
Right.
I don't want to take none.
Yeah, and let's see. I don't know. I think that probably fits the best. Artificer is also one in the 5th edition.
Like an enchanter person?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's neat.
Yeah. So, what was yours that you'd say in real life? The wizard?
Yeah, probably the wizard.
Okay. And if you had a D&D character, you said probably like a rogue, right?
Yeah, something... I don't know, though. Does D&D have, skills, too?
Yes, there is a whole set of... you get a certain number of skill points that you can spec into.
Right.
And you want to spec those properly when you're building your character. And it's something that you really want to talk to someone who is well experienced with on doing that. And
Cause,
just like in any other game, there's multiple ways to build a character, and different people have perspectives on what is right and what is not.
okay. Well, I get you then. Because, like, when it comes to the game, I also like to play, because, like, I'll play this in RPGs, but if there's an opportunity to be, like, a knight, warrior, with a blacksmithing kind of side to it, like, I always like to play those, too. Like, that's what I do in ESO.
Right.
I'll play like the heavy.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything on the smithing side, but I mean, you can certainly build your character to be able to use heavy armor if you wanted to.
Oh, yeah, that's cool too.
And there's certain numbers that, like, one of the things that became apparent when the D&D live stream was going on is that there's certain numbers of rolls that have to be done when you start off, and that determines your handicaps and whatnot as you head into a fight. And those are also manipulated by your class. And, there's a whole book on the 5th edition and what the characters look like and how the rules go. So, I mean, if you really, really wanted to, you could get into this and go very, very deep.
I'm feeling like there's some math starting here, and that's what I'm checking out.
It's nothing more than simple arithmetic.
Oh, okay. Well, that's fine. But I'm like, it started to sound like we had some equations going on. I'm like,
no.
That might be too much for a game for me.
No, that's Star Trek Online if you want that. Behind the scenes.
Okay, for real.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, there's a whole... Yeah. Yeah. There's equations of, like, how pretty much everything works in that game that have been derived and whatnot. And the players know more than the devs do.
That doesn't surprise me.
Alrighty, there's our D&D classes. Thank you, Sirion, for that one. And a timely question given the RuneScape D&D that happened earlier. Okay, have you ever heard of Smash.gg?
No.
Alright.
Is that a dating app?
No. Smash.gg is a service that was founded to facilitate Smash Brothers esports.
Oh, okay.
And Microsoft has acquired Smash.gg this week.
Wait, isn't that a Nintendo franchise?
No.
I thought it was.
No,
okay.
no. The game is Nintendo, but the community is just called Smash.
Okay, but the game is Nintendo.
Yeah, but I mean, it has morphed beyond Smash into so many other things as well. Smash.gg, that is. It's an undisclosed amount of money, and they say the Smash.gg community and tournament organizers will continue to benefit from the Smash.gg platform, while the team will now benefit from additional resources and support from the Microsoft Content Services team. And the Smash.gg website will continue to be the platform of a self-service e-platform, or esports platform. It's launched in 2015. Now,
so basically, their people are get a chance to get paid.
Yeah.
Yay! Good for them.
Now, there's a really interesting thing about this here. What service did Microsoft shut down earlier this year?
I don't know.
Mixer.
Oh.
Which was another competitive gaming venture. Which,
but they were like funding a whole like platform. Their thing.
It was, and it leaned more into the Twitch side of things, but it's the same wheelhouse of competitive gaming and esports. I'm wondering if
they might get further if they're buying like and paying for a team versus one guy who isn't even like, he's not an esports guy. You know, he's an entertainer in the best sense of the word. But I'm just wondering if maybe they got rid of Mixer too soon. Because it seems like combining Mixer with Smash.gg would have been a compelling setup and argument. they could have done. Yeah, you could have had a merger. Well, because you would have had your talent that maybe they don't necessarily have to be a competitor, but he could have been a host. Or,
there you go.
Yeah, your big names. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, you might be onto something there, Shane.
And, I mean, Smash.gg is not saying much about this. It's just that, it's effectively providing a support mechanism to them to keep the services running. And, right. I mean, maybe Microsoft wants to get into esports gaming rather than just, game streaming.
I mean, either way, I'm happy. Like, they've got the money to do it, and it keeps somebody alive.
Yeah.
What's the harm?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I think this is a good thing because it looks like Smash.gg will continue to run as it always has.
Mm-hmm.
So, just interesting, kind of dipping our feet into the esports world here with that. We're going to keep an eye on that because it's weird that they got rid of it, or they bought it, or rather, supporting it right after, getting rid of Mixer not too long ago.
Well, maybe they just sold it to, like, their Chinese uncle who sold it to his Chinese cousin, who then sold it back to their buddy in the U.S.
I remember this story from somewhere.
Just going through the laundry mat a little bit.
Yeah. All right. I don't think there's much else left to say on that one, so let's move on to the next one. Normally, over the last few years, Microsoft has packaged Windows updates, big feature updates in the spring and the fall, and has been, largely bundling them all together. Well, just recently, Microsoft has started testing smaller feature updates for Windows 10 in the form of what they're calling a Windows Feature Experience Pack. And the idea behind this is that Microsoft will be able to update sections of the Windows operating system in a more modular way than they have been doing before. And what the first one that they're putting out to beta testers this week gives is the ability to use the built-in screen snipping app to paste screenshots directly to folders in the File Explorer. It also includes a split keyboard mode for 2-in-1 touch devices.
I like that clipboard stuff.
Yeah, so, I mean, what you could potentially see happening from this is, rather than those two big Windows updates each year, is that whenever, say, Edge gets updated or whenever this little snipping tool gets updated, they just send it in through Windows Update and update that one bit. And then, as a result of it, Windows updates tend to look a little bit more like updating a web browser.
Yeah.
As in, how we get all these little incremental updates to the web browsers, and it's only over time you notice changes.
That's probably good. Like, you don't want the whole operating system, like, changing that much.
No.
Right? Like, you have to get used to things. Like, maybe the browsers are kind of on something with that.
Yeah, and
small,
I mean,
incremental changes like that.
It took me 8 months to upgrade to Catalina from Mojave Mac OS when that came out last year, and I'm still sitting on Catalina because I don't think Big Sur is ready yet for what I want to do with it. And there's lots of people out there that are scared of updating their systems because they just want something that works in a stable way.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So I'm kind of in that boat because I use this for production.
Yeah, you can't afford to have
I can't afford any downtime, honestly.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if this is actually going to make it a little bit easier on the Windows side to not have big breaking updates.
Oh, hopefully.
It's interesting. And what they say is that this will be a way to update apps that are not maintained through the Windows Store. Which, honestly, I personally think the Windows Store is a piece of crap.
Yeah. No wrong.
But yeah, this is interesting. We're going to have to watch and see what this does and see if it improves the stability of Windows, or if there's going to be a way to, kind of stay on a stable chain for that, because that would make me have a look at Windows again, honestly. Because the way my Windows computer is set up is it's just used for games, and I have a backup of all my game saves, so if anything goes wrong, no problem. Just wipe the whole thing and restart.
Yeah, that's...
And whereas if I was using it for something that was production-based, I don't particularly know how to keep a incremental backup of Windows like I can do with Mac OS. So, all right. You ready to be scared at what is potentially possible?
I'm always scared, Shane. It's
All
2020. Right. I live this way.
It's important to run software updates on Windows, on iOS, on the Mac, whichever platform you use, Android, you name it. And that's because back in May, and it was patched back in May, and it was just detailed now, a massive zero-click proximity exploit was patched in iOS. And now what this means is that any iOS user could have been potentially in the position to have their phone compromised had this not been patched back in May. What effectively happened is that through the peer-to-peer wireless service that runs on iOS, that's how they pull off things like AirDrop and AirPlay, creates peer-to-peer wireless networks between devices, is that through this they were able to effectively break into the phone, and you ready for this? They were able to make it so that any phone within wireless range of Wi-Fi, they could do anything they wanted. So in the demos they gave, they made the phone open the calculator app. In another demo, they rebooted an entire table of 25 iPhones all at once, wirelessly. And what's really scary about this is that it's good that, nobody was able to weaponize this and that it has been patched. But this would have allowed access to do practically anything on these iPhones once they were in.
Yep.
So
that's why I don't Apple Pay. Right?
Well,
because they could have.
It's a little bit different than Apple Pay. Apple Pay is an entirely different protocol. We're talking about this coming in through things like AirPlay.
Okay, so this is just like a blackmail machine or something.
Yeah, through the Wi-Fi system. AirPlay works off, Apple Pay works off of the NFC chip inside your iPhone and only transmits data once a secure handshake has been made with a terminal through the secure enclave. So it's entirely different than what we're looking at here. And Apple Pay from the ground up so far has been proven to be pretty secure. But
okay. Well, when you hear a story like this, it's good to know that, because that's the first thing, that's where my mind went. Like,
right, doing it over the air. And some of the code that was actually the result of this was code that was initially written in 1985 for the version of BSD that the Apple platform is based off of.
Holy cow.
So that's how far it goes back. There's a whole 30,000 word article on this if anybody is technically minded and wants to read through this. It goes through a lot of interesting things of how the Wi-Fi connections are made and how they can be interacted with and exactly hijacked to exert control over the device. And the only reason this was published was because this has been patched back in iOS 13.5. And that's the important thing I want to make clear from this, is that, you can do things like this that are pretty off the wall sometimes, and we don't hear about them, thankfully, in this day and age, most of the time until they're patched. But this is the number one reason to always run your software updates when they appear.
Okay, this feels like church, where it feels like the preacher's talking directly to you. It's like I feel like Shane's telling me, Tannis, run your updates. I know you haven't. Get it updated, dude.
Is this your confession?
Yeah, this is my confession.
Well, after the podcast is over, feel free to run your Windows updates and your iOS updates on your iPhone and your iPad.
Well, I will. I feel like someone might be watching me now.
Well, as long as you're on iOS 13.5 or higher, you're fine from this one, and it needs to be within Wi-Fi radio range. So, as wide as a wireless access point is. So, but like I said, sometimes I like to include these pieces of tech news because they're interesting for people who are technically minded and want to go deep on this, but they also have a wider lesson for all the other listeners, and that lesson is, of course, to run your software updates, whether it be on Windows, iOS, Mac, or Android. All right. So we have our 2 Skill of the Month competitions. I won't mention the Slayer one because that one will be underway by the time you guys are hearing this, but we do have the smithing contest that begins on the 15th and runs until the 25th. So if you're interested in taking part in either of these, check them out at rsbnb.com/skotm. And I also have one other thing I need to shout about this week, and that is the RSBANDB Update clip show. We are preparing yet another clip show this year. It is, of course, December, and that means it's time to start gathering these clips. So if you have anything that you think was a notable moment on RSBANDB Update that was crazy, you found funny, or it was absurd in your mind, or you thought it might have just been something that was really important that we said, something that was really profound and serious, those are good as well. And a clip doesn't need to be an outtake. It can be, but it doesn't necessarily have to be that. So if you want to, put your favorite moment in from the Mod Warden episode, go for it. You can fill this out at update.rsbnb.com/clips. We just need the episode number and the time index for the clip. You can give us a little bit of a note about why the clip is noteworthy. And if you, of course, want credit for it, give us your forum name, your Discord name, your RuneScape name, a Twitter handle. Just give us something to credit you with. But yeah, please do help us with the clip show this year. Update.rsbnb.com/clips.
Hey, I'm looking forward to all the Shane mispronunciations we're going to get this year. It's so fun.
All right. Achievements of the week. Starting us off, we have Duramax with 99 Cooking on December 2nd, as well as 99 Archaeology. Also on the 2nd, we have Madhouse SC with 99 Prayer, and CO Aces with 99 Divination. Zerdones also got 99 Archaeology, rounding out December 1st. Or December 2nd, rather. Then on the 1st, we have Duramax with 99 Divination, Mining, and Crafting. And J1, J2, J3, otherwise known as Trekkie, got 99 Archaeology, also on the 1st. Then we have Sparty Pants with 99 Farming. And Tycho, our very own Tycho Elf, got 99 Archaeology on December 1st.
Oh, way to go. Well, Duramax wasn't done, because then they went on to get 99 Agility, Fishing, Thieving, Woodcutting, and Smithing on November 30th. Then Elder Onyx got 120 Archaeology on the 30th. Thieves got 120 Fletching on the 30th. Ishkin?
Yeah, that's how I'd say that.
Got 120 Archaeology on November 27th. And Jag 3 Dagster got 99 Constitution on November 27th. And then Popo 120 with 120 Woodcutting on November 26th. And Sparty Pants with 99 Woodcutting on November 26th. And Surge Aurora with 99 Dungeoneering on November 26th. Nice job, everyone.
Well done. Well done all across the board. And this is a good amount of achievements as we head on into December, the last month of the year, and, you know, I don't know, maybe we should do some kind of achievement of the year thing. I don't know how we'd do that. I don't know what that would be, what that would look like. But that'd be an interesting thing to do, I think.
That would be fun.
We'll have to think about that a bit.
Think on it.
All right, pick of the week. What do you got for us?
Dude, I got a really cool pick. I've been waiting for a while to do this one. So this game has been out for probably like a year now, a little over a year maybe. But do you like racing games, Shane?
Yeah.
Do you like to drive fast?
Yeah. I like them when they're realistic too.
Hey. So Forza Horizon 4 is the pick of the week this week. And this is the one that is an open world racing game where you can. Oh, it's fun.
That's the
one
I prefer. I prefer that one over the regular Forza Motorsport open world games.
Yeah, it's really, really great. And the latest one, which is 4, takes place in the UK. So, I mean, once you get used to the whole wrong side of the road thing, but but the countryside is awesome. Like, these games look incredible, and the way that it works is it goes through seasons, so it's always changing. Like, your road conditions are always changing from like spring to summer to fall to winter, and it's just beautiful looking, right? I mean, it's not constant. It gives you some time to. You might be like, I think it's like a week at a time, something like that.
Yeah.
But the thing that got me, man, was the accessibility in this game. One, you don't think of accessibility when it comes to racing games, right? Like, no,
because the first question is, how do you stay on the road?
Yeah, and the answer is, I don't usually very well. You know, but I love racing games. You know, I mean, ever since you were a kid, going to arcades, sitting in the racing, like, get up, like the whole, you know, it had the steering wheel and the pedals and it moved, and so I've always loved racing games. And this is the first one this is the first game I have ever turned on. Before the game starts, it takes you to an accessibility menu. It says, what do you want? You know, do you have any kind of needs? And you can turn on this thing has a voiceover menu for the game. I haven't found this is the first game I'd ever found with that.
So it'll read the menu out to you.
It reads the menu out to you. That is so incredibly helpful, because there's a lot of information that will pop up in a game that I don't normally catch, right? But this will read it automatically, which is great for when you're driving, because you can't, you don't want to take your eye off the road anyway. But it doesn't stop there. I mean, that is just when it starts. But once you get into these different accessibility menus, like if you've seen any of the articles I've done in the past breaking down different categories, like it literally has all kinds of stuff from subtitles to, help with giving you a guiding line on the road. It can help you assist with the braking or help you assist with the steering, whatever you want. It's very flight simulator like when it comes to how much help or how little help you want, how much of it to be like a simulator do you want. And I absolutely love that. And it's got, just the cars are unreal. It's multiplayer, so I was able to get a couple of my friends to join, and we were taking our cars to the drag strip and just talking smack and lining them up, and just had fun all night doing that kind of stuff. So you can get it on Game Pass.
Yes.
So hey, I'm telling you, Game Pass is a deal, man, between Forza Horizon 4 and Microsoft Flight Simulator. And just those two games right there bought your Game Pass this year.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's my pick this week. It's not only a really good game, but it is the most accessible driving game ever. And it's probably one of the top 4 games I have ever played for accessibility overall.
Nice.
Yep.
Wonderful. All right. As for what we've been doing this week, on RS. As I mentioned, I'm still farming Red Rum 3. I've started throwing a few more herb runs into the mix as well. I'll probably make an attempt at Raksha next week, I think.
I think you can do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
shot.
Yeah, and I mean, worst case, I'll go do it with David after he's figured it out. And that'll count for it. Lots of good stuff going to be coming in with the lore on that too. So should be a very fun episode next week on that. But archaeology is still my thing.
Me too. When I'm on RS, I am playing archaeology. It's just a skill that doesn't get old. Like I said, plus I stockpiled so many artifacts over DXP that I just have to sit there and I was trying to do caches, but they just take too long. So I was like, I might as well just be over here excavating, and at some point I'll get some money and buy the rest. But it's the I went right back to archaeology. Now I have done some construction contracts like over the weekend and stuff. I did get enough to get like the first piece of the outfit. And I plan, like, it just depends. Like, if I am active playing, then I'm doing my contracts. But if I'm just chilling or playing mobile, then I do archaeology. So that's how this week has went.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Alrighty. Well, that's it for this episode of RSBANDB Update. If you want to read the show notes, you can find those at update.rsbnb.com. But there, of course, you'll also find the clips for the clip show at update.rsbnb.com/clips. Send us your clips. They can be funny moments, your favorite moments, your most absurd moments, anything, you name it. Update.rsbnb.com/clips. And if you want to subscribe to the podcast, you can do that as well. We're on pretty much any big podcast listener out there: Apple Podcasts, Google, Spotify, Pocket Cast, Stitcher, even YouTube. Just visit update.rsbnb.com/subscribe. Subscribe to the podcast somewhere. Make sure you don't miss a bit at all. And with that being said, we'll be back next week for another episode of RSBANDB Update. Take care, everyone.
See you.